Welcome to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshira Addo. This is your business thought leadership program that brings you nuggets of insights from the lives and experiences of men and women who have scaled the daunting heights of starting businesses or managing and growing them right here at home and around the world. Today, our guest is a man who qualified as an engineer and also an alumnus of Harvard Business School. Now, he's worked for the blue chips across Nigeria, and even for the British government at some point through DFID. And one day he just decided that that was not what he was going to do with the rest of his life. So he's dedicated the rest of his life to changing lives by changing minds, one mind at a time. He's known as the catalyst, Lanre Olusola. Welcome to the Executive Lounge.
Sure. Thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be on set with you.
It's nice to be with the catalyst. How did you come by the name the catalyst?
Well, you said I decided, to change the trajectory of my life. And unfortunately, I didn't. It was chosen for me. So about 15 years ago, one morning, when I was praying, and have a personal relationship with the Almighty, Sovereign God. And I was praying, and He said to me, my son, I need you to shut down all your businesses. And at that time, on count, I had 14 businesses that I was running.
Wow.
From telecoms to fashion to interiors to manufacturing to engineering to architecture. Name it. And we were running a very tight, nice, successful ship. And he said, shut it all down and go transform lives by transforming minds. I mean, suffice it to say, that I said, get thee behind me, Satan. Because I'd built, a very successful, conglomerate. And he said to me, my voice, my son, no, Satan, this is me. This is not the future. What got you here is not going to get you there. And so I contended with it for a couple of weeks. I knew it was him. And then, I asked him to show me the way, the path, and in 6 months he did. So one of the very difficult questions that I asked him was, Lord, who am I? And he said to me, you are the catalyst. I said, catalyst, what is that? He says, I'm going to do great and mighty things through you. But I want you to recognize that it's not about you. You are not involved. And I went and sought the meaning of catalysis. And catalyst is the substance that you introduce into hitherto chemical mix that had no reaction, and it speeds up or slows down the rate of reaction without itself being involved. So I got it.
Wow.
I asked him, why am I here? What solution was I born to be? What problems was I created to solve? Who had the problems? How to reach them? And the process of transforming those lives through transforming those minds. And so it was obvious that in 6 months it was clear that it was in the dimension of neuroscience, of psychodynamics, of understanding how the human mind influences behavior, how the human environment influences behavior, and how the human spirit subjects itself or controls the dynamics of existence. So I knew that catalysis was a hybrid of spirituality, psychology, neuroscience, sociology, and coaching. And so I went back to school, studied neuroscience, theology, psychodynamics, therapy, coaching in all forms, performance, life, executive. So here I am, 15 years later, doing what I am wired to, created to, called to, mandated to.
That's an incredible story. You sum up in, about 3.5 minutes. In those 6 months that you were going through the phase of preparation, if I could call that, How was that journey comparative to the life prior to the calling?
I mean, it was turbulent. It was interesting, unsettling. To even make matters worse, it says change your name. So my name wasn't Olusola, my name was Kupolui. So it says it's a brand new beginning, completely for you. So I understand when a woman gets married and changes her name, and that sense of loss, that sense of change of identity. So he wanted every single thing to change. And he changed every single thing. It reminds me, you know, of the stories we read in the Bible. Abraham, you know, leave your kindred and go into a new place, you know, and I will make of you something completely different. So he changed Abraham's name. He changed his location. He changed his kindred. He changed what he used to do before. Gave him a new lease of life, you know. Did same with Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Did same with Joseph. You know, and I understand, you know, destiny. I understand predestination. You know, if you begin to look at, you know, let's take a typical example, Abraham or Joseph, you begin to understand that what they went through and the transition really wasn't about them. It was for thousands of years after. Because in Joseph's case, right, God had said before he was born that his own people will be held in captivity for 400 years. How were the Jews going to be found in Egypt if there wasn't famine, if Joseph didn't interpret, if Joseph didn't execute? And to tell you how everything was predestinated and orchestrated by God, you know, there was a Pharaoh that came into power that did not remember what Joseph did. That was spiritual amnesia, right? And so, you know, that's the only way that, you know, in the history books or in you know, historically, you know, no one will remember what Joseph did. You know, history, you know, recorded that there was famine in the whole world, and the whole world came to Egypt, the entire world, for 7 years. Wow. And then a Pharaoh comes after that and doesn't remember
any of that.
It was divinely orchestrated because of a greater, you know, purpose. And so when Joseph's brothers were playing their games, they didn't know that they were part of destiny. And so, you know, they say that the two most important days in a man's life is the day he's born and the day he discovers his purpose. So, you know, I'm privileged to have discovered both and to daily believe in, you know, the reason why I exist. You know, and I count it an honor and a privilege that the Grand Master of the universe, you know, the one that holds your breath, you know, the one that can seize your breath, the one that has the exclusive right to life and death, right? The one that sustains 7.4 billion lives, the one that holds the universe in the palm of his hand, you know, the one that sets the limits to the oceans and the seas and they don't cross their limits, the one that sends lightning and thunder on errands, will come to this insignificant little foolish boy and say, I have an assignment for you. And it blows my mind. It humbles me every time.
Now, you talked about, you know, a balance of 5 areas. So neuroscience, there's the psychodynamics, there's also spirituality, the environment, so
and then coaching.
And then coaching.
So it's spirituality, neuroscience, psychodynamics, sociology, and, you know, coaching.
Now, all of these come together to affect how people find themselves in this predestination of theirs, the life that's predestined, that we discover ourselves to be able to function and play a role in the journey of life and find ourselves to impact on other people. Now, while you were on that journey, I'm sure there were people around you who didn't understand what you were going through and what voice you heard and why suddenly you were closing shop for something that everyone would have thought you loved and passionately did. In those times, how did you keep yourself going?
You know, he kept me. I can't pride myself in being wise, intelligent, knowledgeable enough to have known what to do or how to do what to do. I just kept going back, you know. I mean, I said I studied theology as well, so I found icons like David. So every time David wanted to go to battle, irrespective of the fact that he won the last battle, he won't take it for granted. He will go back to the Almighty and say, how do we fight this battle? And so I always went back and sought for direction. I always went back and asked questions. I always went back to reason with him. I don't get this, you know. I don't understand it. And I'm not going to make a move until you break it down. If you buy this flat screen, right, you've never operated it before, and you see it in your friend's house, and then you go and buy it. And it comes with a box, or in a box, and it comes with a very, very key thing called a manual. Mm-hmm. And that's how you interact with the mind of the creator. That's how the creator of this thing gives you direction and instructions. And so you probably have a call center as well, you know, online, you know, chat room where you can go and make inquiries. And so it behoves on everyone that exists to know that you were manufactured. And there's no big bang that can create this screen. None. No big bang can create this chair. No big bang can create this wristwatch or all these things in this room. No big bang can create. If you look at the sheer complexity of your existence, let's even look at the complex design of your heart. The complex design of your brain. Do you know that your brain cannot function in isolation? Your brain has 5 extensions: your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and the entire skin, which helps you sense and feel things. So when all those 5 senses are dead, your brain is dead. So your brain functions by interacting socially and then internally. And if you look at the sheer complexity of your design, right, I think it's just foolishness to think that a big bang, you know, can, you know,
make all of these things happen.
Yeah, because look, if we look at this flat screen, right, every other model like this, if 1 million are made, they look exactly like this. You know why? Because it comes from the same conveyor belt, the same source, same materials, everything. I mean, have you ever wondered? There's no other way that human beings are created. Sperm hits egg. Boom. Billions of sperm swim, and only one take the lead, hits the egg, fertilizes the egg, and then incubates in 9 months, and then labor, or whether medically assisted, is still sperm, egg, incubation period, 9 months. Why is it 9 months? Then you are born. And then let's leave your existence, because different people make different choices and mistakes. But let's look at the exit. Your breath is taken away from you, and then you cease to exist. Wow. You know, we all come from the same source, and we all go to the same place. You know. So,
but like with the manufactured product, we have individual differences, and no 2 human beings are the same. Not even twins are the same. So does that support the idea that no Big Bang could have created the world we live in, and that we are connected to a superior spiritual being?
Most definitely, because, you know, no amount of prayer that your mother can pray or cry that she can cry that will cause God. I don't even want to entertain, calling him his, spiritual being. No amount of prayer, fasting, sowing seed can cause or compel him to release a purpose that his time is not yet relevant. Look, Shira, you are purpose. You are solution. You are, a mandate in the mind of your Father. And so he dispatches you as part of himself to come and experience life and solve problems here. And so, the reason why you came here as Ghanaian in this dispensation is because your purpose is valuable and is for now. You could have come as a Chinese man, could have come as Jew, could have come as Indian 1,000 years ago, 200 years ago. You could have come as American, but your purpose is not relevant in that geographical space. And your purpose is not relevant in another time but now. And so, God dispatches purpose in time. And there's two dimensions of time. There's chronological time, which we call chronos, and there's God's appointed time, which we call kairos. So God dispatches you in kairos for such a time as this. And the onus lies on us, to reach back to him and say, look, what is the assignment? What is the purpose? What is the mandate? And with every mandate comes a gifting and a passion, and an environment for it to blossom, or an environment that nurtures it. So he deposits you in a family. Why did he deposit you in a family that he deposited you in? It's because that family is the incubator, the nurturing environment that will create this nature that is unique. So even though you are a twin, both of you watch, observe, and relate differently because the spirit within you is connecting to the source of that spirit and receiving its mandates differently from the other one. So like you said, what Big Bang can do that is deliberate consciousness.
Let's situate this in a very, in a context that quite a lot of us hopefully will be able to relate. David eventually becomes king of Israel. But prior to David becoming king of Israel, he was a shepherd boy. He himself extolled his achievements, that he fought and killed a lion, he killed a bear, he played the harp. And if you look at the account of David, all of these things that happened prior to that moment, that kairos moment, that he then becomes king, where, if you could put it, that we become the sum total of our prior experiences at the point where we accept the call and the mandate. How did your own life shape you for the times you're living now?
So I'll lean in from where you came from. So, just to let people know that nobody determines your destiny or your purpose. And you cannot ask them. So never ask people. So people's opinion about who you are, your identity, why you are here, the solution you were born to be, and your purpose and your mandate and your calling is irrelevant because they don't even know theirs. So leave man. Because guess what? The prophet of God went to David's house and asked his father, where are your sons? Imagine it, sure. They ask your father, bring out all your children. And they bring everybody out and forget you. The father forgot that he had a son called David. So, are these all your sons? He said, yes. Are you sure these are all your sons? Say yes. Are you sure? Say, there's
that one.
That one. And the prophet said, no, it's not these ones. I will not sit until he arrives. So leaning into what you're saying, every experience David had from the past was a deposit, and a component into who he became. And, the prophet, who is supposed to be the oracle of God, anointed, said, I will not sit down until the boy comes. And so they went to get David, and David comes. And the Bible says that, and the prophet arose and anointed him. Wow. A little boy was more anointed than the prophet of God. So the prophet had to arise in the spirit, elevate his status spiritually to anoint the little boy, because the unction on the little boy was much bigger. Because the experience that the little boy had gone through that equipped him for where he was going, and the mandate upon him was bigger than the prophet. So the prophet needed, to step up spiritually. And so people should not, belittle the unction that God has placed upon them because they go to a church, they report to a man of God. Your mandate may be bigger. And men of God owe it to themselves to release people into the world if God has ordained them. One of the challenges that we face today is people are in church imploding and they're not out there. The mandate is go ye into all the world and affect and transform and turn people's hearts and minds back to me. Everyone goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in church. We're imploding. We are not changing the environment. We're not changing destinies. And so, David knew exactly what to do. David's experience was a build-up into who he became. And invariably, because, he was compassionate with the sheep. When Saul wanted to kill him, he could be compassionate. Because he sought God's face and he depended on God when the lion appeared to him and tried to kill him. It was okay, for him to go to battle endlessly because he knows who his source and source of life and livelihood and, strength, dependency is on. So whether you're born in a broken home, or you were abused when you were young, or life happened to you and you can interpret it as bad stuff, negative stuff, all adds up. You need to be thankful and grateful for every experience because you will never, ever be the guy that you were created to be if you do not appreciate and understand and elicit the learning and the wisdom in every experience. David always reminded himself, that this guy that is despising, this giant, this thing that is despising my source, my almighty God. I need not see you. All I need to remind myself of is what I've learned when I killed the lion and the bear. I didn't use an armor. I didn't use a spare sword. I used my bare hands. Let me go get some stones. Let me finish this guy. It was divine intelligence, And for you to be able to succeed in life, you need two types of intelligence. Well, three. But two types of intelligence they constitute 85% of success. Spiritual and emotional intelligence is responsible for 85% of all success in any chosen field of endeavor. Unfortunately, man invests in 15%, which is your cognition, your physical abilities. But that can only deliver 15%. But David developed his spiritual and emotional intelligence. That is the intelligence of his spirit and the intelligence of his soul, which we neuroscientists and psychologists call the subconscious. The subconscious is responsible for 90% of everything you can ever do, achieve in life.
And there's so much more I'd like to learn about that. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to learn a lot more from Lanre olusola, the catalyst, more about how we are chasing 15% of the abilities that we're actually endowed with. Could that be why we're where we are as a people today? More revelations coming up. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me in Shirado and my guest Lanre olusola, the catalyst. Wow, there's a lot more revelation coming your way in a moment. Now, Lanre talked about the 2 or 3 components really that determine success or that we often get measured by. So there's the spiritual component, that's spiritual intelligence, if you'd call it that. There's emotional intelligence. And then the physical intelligence, which is your cognitive and dexterity that you would have to do a particular skill or an activity. Now, it turns out 85% of success is dependent on spiritual and emotional intelligence. Let's learn more about that. Yeah. So, people get hired for the skill.
Yeah.
But you're saying that 85% of how well they do that job is actually dependent on everything else, but not necessarily their ability to.
I mean, let me give you a classic, right? If I tell you to stand up, you know, what do?
I will, I guess.
Okay. Do you know how?
No, I listen to you, I move. It's intuitive.
No, it's not. So the information goes to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain. How do you pick up that information? You hear. So it's sound waves. So you can't see the instruction physically. The instruction that I send, get up, is not physical. You can't see it. So you pick up the sound waves with your ears, mm-hmm. which is a part of your brain, right? You probably read my lips. And then your brain picks it up. And your brain runs it in a reference memory system. And you know what, you see what standing up is like. And your brain sends signals to your neural system and your muscles and your joints to stand up. So there's a social interaction and command. There's a comprehension and understanding. And there's a decision and a signal. Mm. And then you get up. So you think you got up by the sheer physicality of getting up. Do it to someone that is paralyzed. The reason why it's paralyzed is there's no connection between the brain and the neural system and the muscles. So really, what makes you get up and walk is not your skill to walk. That's just 10%. What makes you get up and walk and keep walking and balance, you know, is this. The spiritual, psychological, and emotional intelligence.
Otherwise, the subconscious.
Yes, the subconscious. And if you look at Fortune 500 companies, they test for emotional intelligence more than they test for IQ now. And that's why they are way ahead. Their school system is about developing the holistic child, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and physical and cognitive abilities. That's why they are way ahead. They're teaching intuition, they're teaching curiosity, they're teaching innovation, they're teaching the understanding of the intangible, the invisible. And when we talk about spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. We're talking about, you know, being in tune with your inner mind, your inner eyes. Because you've got three existing essence. One, the spiritual existing essence, the psychological and emotional existing essence, and the physical existing essence. Do you have a relationship between the three? Are they in harmony? Are they complementing and helping each other? Mm. You know, but here it's about religion. You know, here it's about your cognitive hand job and hand skill. It's about what you know, what you've regurgitated, what we call rogue learning. So your teacher tells you this is the curriculum, cram it and pour it out, then they give you an A. They don't allow you to be curious. They don't allow you to interpret the information the way you understand it. They don't allow you to bring a different spin to the conversation. They don't encourage curiosity. And that's why, you know, one of the reasons why we're lagging behind. We don't know who we are. And, you know, they asked Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers of our time, what are the three critical, important things in success to life? He says, 1, know thyself. 2, know thyself. 3, know thyself. And then they asked him why the same answer 3 times. And Socrates says, if you do not know yourself, you can never become yourself. So know thyself spiritually, know thyself psychologically and emotionally, know thyself physically, and create an integration, harmony. balance between all three and understand all three and be able to deploy all three at the same time. Let all three agree. Because, you know, when we talk about spiritual mind and emotional mind and the physical mind, you know, I can always relate everything with scripture. A double-minded man is unstable in his ways. Let him not think that he can receive any blessings or anything from the Almighty God. So once your subconscious is contrary to your conscious, you are double-minded. You are conflict, what I call internal conflict with yourself. You are going nowhere. If you do not know your subconscious mind and what is deciding to do, and then you send another signal from your conscious mind, and then they are conflicting with each other, you self-sabotage, you self-implode. So you find many people that are stuck. You find people that want to do things, but they can't. You find people that don't want to do certain things, but they can't stop themselves from doing it. You know? So the key is for you to understand your essence. You know, the Bible calls it the inner man. Apostle Paul says, I saw a man caught up in the third heavens. That is, his physical being saw his spirit, you know, going to interact with God as he was physically existing. So the Bible tells us that we are the only beings that exist in parallel universes, because it's the invisible things of this world that control the physical. So there's a dimension called the matrix, that some people call it the spiritual dimension, and everything that we see in the physical is controlled 90% by that dimension. So if I scan your brain, I can't see your thoughts, right? So your thoughts are invisible, so it's not that gray matter or white matter. If I scan your heart, I can't see your emotions or your feelings. So it's really not that guy, that physical muscle that is pumping it. You know, something else is controlling the physical.
So how can the complex individuals who are all different come together to make something out of one vision, be it a man's vision or a woman's vision or a collective's vision? In the workspace, we're all complex and different, and we may have our dysfunctions and idiosyncrasies. You're suggesting that the reason why businesses may not grow is because there's a lack of understanding of the individuals and their essence.
It's many things. So, you know, you know, we're part of a constellation, and I'm sure people understand what constellations are. They are stars that come together to form the galaxies. That's who we are. So if we zoom in internally, right, you've got different cells, molecules, you know, that come together to constitute you. So you're a system. And then, you know, you were a member of a family, so you had parents and siblings. So you were influenced by their values, their beliefs, their core, you know, philosophy and the culture or religion or tradition. So you emerge from a system. And then by God's grace, you probably have a wife and children, and so you are part of another system. So you are a systemic being. So I've described different systems, so you can call that stars, different stars that constitute you as a constellation. And then you go into a workplace, and then I'm working with you. So you are bringing your husband and your wife, you are bringing your father and your mother, you are bringing your religion, you are bringing your positivity and negativity, you are bringing your dysfunction in there, you are bringing your own personal vision, values, beliefs, and I'm bringing my own. So the natural result is conflict, internal conflict, and physical conflict, and social conflict. So within that workplace, all of us must submit to one vision. That is, I must align and submit my personal vision to that vision. So organizations that have no vision are going nowhere. Where there's no vision, the organization perishes. It crashes and burns. When the vision is not written down and put out there for everyone to read and run with it and align with it, the organization burns and crashes. When the people do not imbibe the vision, the organization burns and crashes. Now it is when everyone in that organization have bought into the vision and they know where they're going, that's when they start. Now, A vision without a set of values or core beliefs or philosophy will be shortchanged and sabotaged. So if your values contradict mine and mine contradict the next man, and there's 10 of us in a team and we're running 10 different value systems, even though we see one vision, right? That vision will crash and burn. That organization will crash and burn. And so the organization needs to have clear values that everybody imbibe. So you subject your values to that of the organization, because there's no one man that is bigger than the vision of the organization. After all, that organization has bought your life. And I'm saying this explicitly. You give the organization 30 days of your life every month, and they pay you for it. So they are buying your values, they are buying your beliefs, they are buying your vision, they are buying you to subject yours to theirs. So if your personal values, your philosophy and your vision does not align with any organization, you shouldn't be there. There must be an alignment, and you must have other people that you align with. So every organization has to run a diagnosis or profile people that are coming in there first. You have to do a profiling personality test. How do they think and make decisions? The emotional intelligence component, the spiritual intelligence component. You know, what are their value systems? You know, how do they see the world and interact with the world? There's several profiling tests that when we work with organizations, we help them run so that you have the right people. So, you know, every organization is a function of the right people with the right values, right mindsets, who align with the vision, and have like-minded people that they can work with. And then it is at that time that you can do what we call team bonding or team building, where we create team alignment. And when we do team bonding, team alignment, we're connecting them psychologically and emotionally. And then once that is done, the physical work is done, such that I said to you, get up and share. And I asked you how. You know, it's the software that drives the organization, because it's the people that really make up an organization. An organization is nothing without the people, but the people are nothing without their subconscious. And so when you create an alignment subconsciously and you know, introduce workplace psychology and coaching, and you coach people through, right? Once you've created what we call the triangle of achievement, vision, values, and core philosophy or beliefs, right? And everybody buys into it. And then you coach them to be able to subject theirs to the organization, because they see the organization as the way that their own personal trial is fulfilled. That is when an organization advances. And then when the CEO leaves, they bring in another CEO with the same alignment. When the HR manager leaves, they bring in someone else with the same alignment. So you create a system and a constellation that is in harmony. It's the only way that an organization can transcend from one generation to the other. So you may ask, so is that why organizations in Africa don't transcend? Yes.
How can we change that?
We just have to change, you know, our approach to how we run this constellation called an organization. We have to realize that it's not only IQ or skill or, you know, job technical competence that drives an organization. You know, max 2-3 years, the guys will leave. 4 years. If you adjust their paycheck, they will be there, but not committed. We call it presenteeism. They are there, but they are absent. They are doing their own businesses. They are on Facebook. They are on internet. But if you want people that are fully committed to the dream, right, to the vision, to the philosophy, you know, you got to match these people's DNA with the DNA of the organization. You know, when we want to find out who your who's your father, we'll do a DNA test, right? That's because your father's DNA is the same as your DNA, right? A lot of organizations don't do a DNA audit. They don't even have a DNA. And so if you go to Google, everybody in Google, they dress the same, they have the same mindset, the same spirit. Go to Microsoft, same thing. If you look at African businesses, you know, the MD is behaving different from the HR. They're even fighting, you know, behaving different from the salespeople. Always at conflict. But man, if you see how the constellation called Google works, man, the constellation called Microsoft works, or Fortune 500 companies. The simple things like this, they understand the oil that runs the engine. And so for us to change it, we've got to change the software. We've got to eliminate the viruses in the software, install a different antivirus system, and optimize the software. It's the software that drives the hardware. This flat screen cannot work without the software, you know? So it's software driven. We have to change our mindsets, our beliefs, our culture, our religion, our tradition, because look, it is the thing that is holding us down, you know, because tradition, culture, religion makes the word of God null and void. So you go to church, you're religious, but man, nothing is going on for you. It's because, you know what, tradition, culture, even knowledge, you know, is holding you down. You know, you need to change your mindset.
So these examples of constellations that you talk about have people who are clearly different individuals, but they've aligned. Mm-hmm. How much of an organization's resource and time should go towards doing the profiling and ensuring that people are aligned at the subconscious level before hiring, or that even after hiring? But the businesses that have hired now and are probably, you know, doing a bit of a cursory analysis of their own environment and thinking, what Lanre is saying makes a lot of sense, and maybe we ought to start aligning this and that. What are the things they have to do now?
I see two categories of organizations. So you're a startup, right? Or you're just recruiting for different positions. The onus lies on you to find someone that has the competencies to develop instruments that help you profile for your own kind of business, because you know you also cannot use generalized profiling systems. You know, the technical profiling in an engineering company will be different from in a service-oriented business. Mm-hmm. You know, so based on your business and based on your vision, short, medium, and long term, it's important that you find someone, an organizational psychology or a coach, performance coach like me, that sits with the organization and the visionary and begin to help you design the tools and, you know, and the methodologies to find the right people. Because it's not about getting people that are first class, you know. I mean, if you look at the way Microsoft, Google, Samsung hire, it's not about first class. You know, it's about everything. And so they get people that are whole, that can deliver on a holistic level. So you just need to develop your own funnel system, you know. What are the competencies that you're looking for? What are the personality traits that you're looking for? What are the thinking and behavioral traits that you're looking for? What are the perceptual traits that you're looking for? What are the competencies that you need? Once you find this competency and this criteria, then we develop an instrument that we use to attract them. And there's a language that these people speak. You know, when I talk about language, I'm not speaking about English, Ghanaian, or Yoruba. I'm saying that, you know, if you're looking for visual people, there's a language that visual people speak. Yeah. So you use that to attract the right kind of people, you profile them, and then you test them, and then you set a minimum score. And then once they get in, right, there's another coaching program that goes on where you coach them to fit, you know, and you coach them to align, and, you know, you coach them to see, you know, where you're going as an organization so that they can buy into the vision.
Welcome back to the Executive Lounge, and this is the back straight of our conversation with Lanre. Olusola, the catalyst. And we've gleaned some deep wisdom about spirituality, about how it's important that we master who we are by finding our very essence, why we're here, who we are, what solution are we, and to which problem, and where is that problem. I'm sure you have enjoyed it so far. Prepare yourself as we learn some more towards the end. Now, Lanre, you talked about how things like intuition is being taught, curiosity is being taught in other jurisdictions, and where you typically find your Fortune 500 companies. What are some of the things we ought to start doing differently to enhance the chances of African businesses becoming multi-generational?
You know, first thing is, you know, we need to stop copycatism. You know, because Microsoft does this and then to this business, or my friend, you know, sells clothes and is making money, then I should go into that business. Maybe that's not the problem that you are created to solve. I mean, I was running 14 businesses, but, you know, I was privileged, you know, to have access to spiritual intelligence, to know that, no, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So, you know, each person needs to sit down and do an audit and ask, what is it that I've always done that, you know, people have always asked me for, that I've done for free and I've done exceptionally? What is it that I can do for free? What is it that if they gave me $100 million, I won't stop doing? What is it that if I had no money, I won't stop doing? What is it that when they wake me up at night and they ask me to do it, naturally I do it? What is it that I'm gifted naturally to do? What is it that I'm passionate about? What is it within my environment that makes me angry? I mean, I walk past this and everybody seems to be okay with it, but they will ask you, not only you, what's your problem with this thing? You know, that thing is nudging at you. You know, those are indicators. You know, by the time you brood over those things, you know, and I use this word loosely, brood, because look, how did Bill Gates get into Microsoft? He's always sat in his room thinking. A lot of people don't think. Africans, we don't think. He sat in his room meditating. A lot of Africans don't meditate. He sat in his room imagining the future, imagining the problems of the future, imagining the solutions of the future. Then he started to say to himself, you know, so, you know, we don't understand even this religion that we're following like fools. We don't understand the codes that are hidden, the processes that are hidden. So the Bible says, you know, and God is only able to do far exceedingly abundantly above that which we can ever ask, think, imagine, according to the power that worketh within us. So there are 4 dimensions of prayer. There are 4 dimensions to create anything, to get God, you know, to do far exceedingly above your physical abilities, right? It is, first of all, you ask. So what are you praying? Is the first question. You know, you can't pray until you've thought through, until you've imagined. And, you know, there's no power in any force in your prayer without conviction, without passion, without emotion. You know, that force is what delivers the prayer. And how are you even praying it? Now, so you say, you know, I want $1 million. How do you know when God has answered the prayer? When you don't listen. So prayer is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. So you ask and then you receive. And then when you receive, right, what's your mindset? Because look, and sure, if I say, look, I give you $5,000, right? I'm going to give you $5,000. You're excited. Wow, $5,000 is coming my way. And then you're anticipated, right? Then you're wondering who this guy give me. Then you remind me, you know, Lanre, how about that $5,000 where you promised me now? You know, and then I say, okay, I'll give you tomorrow. Then you anticipate, so maybe you won't sleep. continue to ask God, Lord, let this guy not change his mind though. And then the day comes, the time comes, and then I bring out the money from my pocket. The feeling inside you changes, right? Your mindset changes. Then I stretch it out to you, you receive it, right? Then the feeling inside you changes. Now, what happens when we pray, right? Pray for $1 million, and God says, I've delivered it. The feeling you should have is the feeling when I've handed you the $5,000. So that's the power that worketh within you. It's the power of conviction and belief that you have received it, which means that when you have received the $5,000, what will be your conversation like? You will not say, please give me $5,000. You say, thank you for giving me $5,000, right? Because you have received it. Now, a lot of people cancel that. If they've received in the spirit, then tomorrow they go again, Lord, give me. Meanwhile, he has given. And so they go through those cycles. Lord, give me again. Lord, give me again. So I'm stretching $5,000 in your hand, in my hand to you. Your eyes are closed. Lord, give me. I wonder why people close their eyes when they're praying. You know, Lord, give me. Lord, give me. He has given you, but you are blind. You can't see with your spiritual eyes. You can't feel with your emotional intensity that it has been delivered. It has been received. And then your words that create your world is not in alignment with that which, you know, you have received. So you are speaking outside. And so, you know, you're unable to receive. So, you know, those are some of the things we need to get right. Also, a lot of people, you know, 90% of their prayers is really about what they want. So they are using God. How about what you want to do for God? So people are praying for husband, wife, money, breakthrough. You know, 80% to 90% of their prayers about using God. Have you asked what you could do for God? You know, we need to change that mindset. Ask him what your purpose is. Ask him how you can be a gift to humanity. It is when you are solving the problems of humanity, you solve more problems, you make more money because you create more value. The bigger the problems you solve, the more bigger the money you make. You know, so there are many things that need to change. You know, many things, our process, our system, our thinking, you know, religion, tradition, culture, you know, what we think we know. Look, religion, let me even leave religion. Let me talk about culture and tradition. When people have a culture or tradition, oftentimes it is born out of a belief. And a belief is born out of something that happened and an action that was taken to solve it. And so they did it over time, and they believed that it worked. And over time, you know, everybody imbibed it. And so it became a tradition and then a culture. Do you know that culture, tradition is transient? It changes with time. It's not supposed to be static. So the tradition that was a solution 200 years ago is a burden and a liability now. How many people have sat down to investigate and interrogate that culture? But it's holding us bound. Note that it's tradition and culture that makes the word of God null and void. It's one of the things we must change in Africa. You know, the way we think, the way we see ourselves, the identity of who a black man is. You know, I don't want to even go
about the identity of the black man.
Of the black man,
but
you know.
When it comes to the question of changing the way we think, whose responsibility is it to lead the way? Is it something that has to be done at the national level, at community level, at home, individuals? Where should we be looking to for those pointers?
You know, it's your responsibility. Your life is yours. I mean, I can't drink poison for you to die now. You know, for you to die, you must drink the poison by yourself. Which means that, you know, no one has your destiny in their hands, not your father, not your mother, not your pastor, you. It's your life, because no one is going to live your life. You know, you came alone, you're exiting alone. And the onus lies on you to take responsibility, because as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That's a paradox. You don't think with your heart. The Bible is telling you a process of existence, but we don't have time, so I can't break that down. You know, so the way you think, you know, and the energy that you emit, you know, gravity is the force that holds the constellations in place, the stars, the moon, the sun, the earth, the planets. Gravity is the force. There are forces that hold the world and human existence in place. Love, empathy, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, hope, faith. They are key. So it's your responsibility to develop and imbibe those things. And, it's almost impossible to love if you don't know who love is. Because love is not it's not a feeling. Love is a person. Love is a decision. Love is a commitment to something. Love is not what you demand. Love is what you give. And if you do not understand all that concept, understanding that no one can exist without love, no one can survive without hope, no one can live without faith or belief. Because the reason why you're sitting on this chair is you believe this chair can carry your weight. That's why you're sitting there. The reason why you walk the stairs downstairs is because you believe that those stairs can carry your weight. The day you cease to believe, you will remain up here because you believe that, phobia, fear, it can paralyze. So these are critical forces that hold human existence. And so it's your responsibility, and the onus lies on you to change your thinking, to change how you see things, to change and master your emotions, to develop spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, to ensure that the real forces that make life go round and, make for, fruitful existence and dominion on earth, you are living them rather than the opposite. When you hold anyone in unforgiveness, it kills. And when you hold anyone down, you are not going anywhere yourself. So if you want to blow and achieve phenomenal things, right, you are being held down because you think you are holding someone else down. It is not favor you are doing to someone else that offends you to forgive and release them. You are doing yourself the greatest favor. So release yourself from your past. Release people from, the mistakes and errors they've made. It's in your best interest. Do you know that coronary heart diseases, high blood pressure is the result of unforgiveness, anger, and resentment? We don't want to go into deadly emotions because emotions kill. 80 to 90% of disease is caused by stress. 100% of stress is caused by unresolved social and emotional traumas that end up being convictions and beliefs. So beliefs are at the heart of 100% of stress. And 100% of stress is at the heart of 85 to 95% of disease. So disease don't happen to you. Disease happen because of you. And what is disease? It's a lack of ease, spiritually, biologically, emotionally, socially. So you need to correct yourself before you wreck yourself. It's your responsibility, bro.
Wow. Insightful stuff. And I'd like to say a big thank you to you for making time for us on the Executive Lounge. Wish we could do some more. We have a tradition on this show, and it is to share my 5 takeaways from the conversation so far. And for me, the first thing I picked in all of this conversation is that it is important that you find your true essence. Why were you made? Why were you born? You could have been anywhere on this big God's green earth. You could have been anywhere. You could have come as a Chinese, a Japanese, an Ethiopian, but you're Ghanaian, or you're whoever you are, wherever you find yourself. Where you find yourself holds a key to why you were born. And the environment, the things you went through, the family, all of those things will add up. So keep searching for that essence, because in fixing the problems, in living that essence, then you will find relevance. And in that relevance, you'll also find value. Second thing I'm taking away from this conversation is that we should go after knowledge. Don't stop asking questions. Be curious. Develop your sense of curiosity. Ask questions of your environment, not just live in it. Ask questions of it. Why are things the way they are? How can things be different from the way they are now? And in those questions, you're going to find some answers that will open your mind and let you freely live. The third thing I'm taking away from this is alignment. That we're all going to be different, but until we're aligned behind one vision, whether it's a national vision, whether it's a vision of a family, whether it's a vision of a married couple, or the vision of an institution, until there's alignment, there will be no progress. Number 4 is that we are a combination of a number of things. But the 2 key things is how well we manage our emotional intelligence and our spiritual intelligence. Be in tune with the spirit that created you, the source of your being. Be in tune with that. And when you're done, ensure that you master your own emotions, because your emotions only can kill you if you don't master it. You only cultivate and develop very negative energies within you, and they don't explode. It implodes and it kills you from within. Final thing is this, that when you do decide to do something, do it with conviction and go all out. So, this has been a great and wonderful time on the Executive Lounge, and I urge you to tune in again next time. My name is Inshira Ado, and as always, go forward, make rain. Shalom.